Hello. This is my first attempt at some rant vlog things called Trigger Warning Opinions. Credit to Tumblr for that name. And I guess the first thing I'm going to rant about, or try to, is abortion, because I guess that seems easy, and I'm female, so female rights, I guess. I have pro-choice, and I'm going to try to be as unbiased as I can. I think both sides have their points, but even people from my side, I don't agree with some of the things that they say. It doesn't even make sense to me. So I'm going to start with some of other people's arguments, and I'm sorry if it's unorganized, because one thing just goes into another, so bear with me. First, I like to say that religious arguments hold like no ground with me because I'm an atheist. So if you say, well, God made you with your uterus and the penis and the vagina, that's how babies are made, and if you disrespect that, you're going to hell because you're bad, I'm not going to take you seriously. I'm sorry, it just holds no ground with me at all. So a lot of pro-lifers seem to use manipulative, like emotionally manipulative language. Like they'll say murder, child, unborn child, homicide, shit like that. Like, it's obviously an argument strategy. You're just trying to manipulate their emotions. Like, vegans do this. Like, I'll make a video about you vegans, but and they'll call it like meat is murder and that kind of stuff. No. Tried to find arguments where people didn't use emotionally manipulative language, and it wasn't that easy. I didn't really come up with anything, but I made a big list and I'm trying. The argument, how would you like it if your mother got an abortion? Well, I wouldn't like it because I wouldn't like anything. I wouldn't feel anything because I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be dead. Well, I guess I technically would be dead, but I would know because I wouldn't be alive. Unless there's some afterlife and I magically learned English and all the things, then I went to heaven or hell or whatever is a little zygote thing and was like, gee, I didn't like being aborted. But, yeah. Someone said, where's the fetus's choice? And they didn't choose to be aborted. If they wanted to die, they would have committed suicide. Like, because they mentioned, like, miscarriages. I guess that's their version of a fetus committing suicide. A fetus cannot commit suicide because its brain is not developed enough to think. It doesn't know English. It does not have bargaining skills. Children don't even have that kind of rationalization skills. So a fetus wouldn't think. It wouldn't say, I'm going to commit suicide. That's telling a mother that, oh, you didn't have a miscarriage because of whatever X and X so-and-so complication. Your baby committed suicide. No, you're dumb. This is added kind of late, but I thought of another argument that people have is that people say all life is precious, religious or not, and that it should be given a chance. And biologically, I'm sorry, we're all disposable. Especially at that stage. Men produce millions of sperm in one ejaculation. Women have a set number of eggs, but one man could fertilize billions of children if he could fuck that much, but you know what I mean. To an extent, I agree, how a little frog can lay an egg and that egg can hatch, and he can just start growing little eggs and turn into another frog, or how a flower blooms. I think it's beautiful, but I don't think that it really matters if that tadpole ends up hatching or not, or if that flower does bloom. When it happens, it is beautiful, but it doesn't have to happen. Nothing in the universe is going to change. If I wasn't here, sure, there'd be things different in the world, but it wouldn't really affect anything. I just wouldn't be here, and all of the stuff that I have done wouldn't have left a mark. I wouldn't be here. No one would know. No one would care because no one would know me because I wouldn't exist. Yeah. And someone said, it doesn't stop you from becoming a parent, it just makes you the parent of a deceased child. And again, with the emotionally manipulative language, it's not a child, it is a fetus. And I actually kind of disagree with pro-choicers saying that, it's a fetus until it comes out. No, because you can have a miscarriage, not a miscarriage, early, you can go into labor early and it can still survive even if it was like 6 weeks early. It would probably need medical assistance, but it could still survive. So that proves that if it came out that early, it automatically becomes a baby because it comes out. I guess they just call it a fetus because that's the medical term for a baby in the womb. But like up to 12 weeks, it's just a little blobby little sea monkey thing, you know? We are disposable creatures. Most life is disposable, unless you're an endangered animal. And there's 7 billion of us, and we wreak havoc on the planet anyway. The Earth would be better off without us, so why even bother? I mean, if you believe religiously that, you know, every life is a soul at conception, then cool, but from the side that doesn't, how are we supposed to rationalize with you or have some kind of middle ground argument if we're on totally different planes, totally different pages? It's like telling an adult that they're not getting presents from Santa Claus. That kind of goes with the atheism arguments, but the religious people have a totally different worldview than the seculars about abortion. But there are secular people who also are against abortion, but this is for the religious people, specifically talking about them. When they're arguing with seculars, it doesn't work because their perceptions on how the world works and how life is treated are two entirely different things. So I think we have to get past that to come to some kind of an agreement, because that's one of the biggest problems that I've seen. Life starts at conception. I actually agree with this, because if you weren't conceived, you wouldn't be alive, so, yeah. Not a human. A lot of people from my side will be like, well, fetuses aren't humans. Yeah, they're human tissue, and they have the potential of becoming human, so I would say that they are human. They're not a human, they're not a walking, they're not a, like, they can't survive out of the womb. They're basically like someone on life support. And here's one of my arguments is, there's no real difference. Someone in like a coma or a vegetative state that's being kept alive by a, life support, yeah. The only thing keeping them alive is the machines and stuff. Their brain is kaput. It's dead. There's nothing there. There's nothing up here. Same with a fetus. The only thing keeping the fetus alive, keeping its heart beating, its organs doing whatever they do in that state, because they're not really active, is the mother. The brain does not even control that until some odd weeks. You can choose to have a loved one taken off life support, but you can't choose for your own personal reasons to terminate a pregnancy that could get in the way of your life when it was totally unplanned, especially if you try to prevent it. That's not really fair. Someone in a vegetative state, they're alive, but if you turn that switch off, they're not going to be able to support themselves. They're going to die. So, yeah, you can choose to turn that switch off, but you can't choose to terminate a pregnancy. That's not fair. People who say, if you have sex and get pregnant, it's your fault and you have to deal with it. They act like pregnancy is just some, oh, well, just go through it, it's easy. No, I'm not pregnant, hopefully, goddamn. And I've never had kids, I'm 19. But I know, obviously, it's kind of obvious that it's not like an easy, willy-nilly, oh, I'll just have a kid and raise it, and it's easy and cheap. No, medical bills for, I heard delivery are up to $10,000 if you don't have the correct insurance. It's like $250,000 to raise a kid for whatever someone said, years. I think that's up till 18 on like low budget shit. And it's not just like, oh, you're gonna let it live and it's gonna grow up and be fine. If you don't have the skills, you could either raise like a terrible person, or you could just have like they act like if it comes out of the vagina or C-section or whatever, then everything's willy-nilly. The little fetus lived. But it's not that simple. It's like a child. It's a person. Someone has to raise that thing. And in the instance of like the mother having it and keeping it, if she's not ready, then she shouldn't have had it, because if she's not ready and she has the child and tries to raise it and fucks up, that person is going to be probably fucked up. They might not do good in school, they might get behavioral problems and hurt other people. It's just not a good situation. Brings me to my next point, I guess, would be the 3 options for unplanned pregnancy are: you keep it, you have an abortion, or you have the child and give it up for adoption. The first, abortion, pros. The pregnancy is over, and, well, it's over, you don't have to deal with it. Cons, it's expensive. Medical complications, like any surgery. It's not just abortion, it's any medical operation, no matter how minor, has risks and complications that you should be aware of that could happen. You could die, you could get an infection, whatever. Oh, you could have emotional trauma after if you're not prepared, like loss of a pregnancy or whatever. Adoption. Pros. The child lives, gets out of the womb safely, whatever. It could go into a good home and become a good person. Cons. The adoption system has its flaws, definitely. Kids can be subject to abuse. You don't know where that child is going. You have, I think, how adoption works, like, there is a way for you to be connected to the kid and see the kid and stuff and see how it's doing. But really, you have no control over what they're teaching it, how it's being raised, what at school it's going to, who they're hanging out with. No option. You're giving it up. It's basically like, doesn't exist to you. It's far gone. Could go halfway around the world for all you care. All you know. You keep it. Pros, it lives. You get to raise it how you want to. You have total control over whatever happened to that child. Cons. Say goodbye to your money. If you are not ready and you decide to have this just for the sole purpose of, I don't want to be a murderer or whatever, like I said, you could raise it and you could go wrong and the kid could turn out screwed up. If they're not ready again, their parents might end up taking care of it. Baby daddy might leave, ditch, kid might have only one parent. Depressing situation. I mean, I only live with my dad. My mom died when I was 5. And I turned out okay, but it could affect them. Could also turn out great. They could turn out fine. But I'm just saying, it could. An argument from the pro-lifers is abortion is selfish and filled with excuses. This is what I saw online. Well, no, you don't know why that person wants one. Say, like, I saw a thing on Dr. Phil where an 11-year-old got pregnant, and I think, yeah, she had the kid, I think, but with, I think, like, young pregnancies, because the body isn't even, like, developed at that age, especially with rape. There could be complications that could put the mother at risk and the child. You're going to put this little thing over the life of the mother. Or you're going to say, gee, this person is in no way, ready to have a child. It could affect her health. Maybe she should terminate. If I give you, like, 5 different kinds of fetuses, you could not tell the difference. I'll post them if I remember going through this video. Pro-choicers that argue, like, oh, well, a sperm and an egg have the potential to be a person, so why don't you rally for that too, to live? Are you going to outlaw masturbation and periods? Are you going to make all women have sex so their period isn't going to waste? No, you're fucking stupid. You do not understand how biology works. Egg, sperm are 2 separate cells, and they do not even have the potential to turn into a child or a fetus or a zygote until they go like this, and they start expanding and multiplying. Unless you're, like, asexual. But humans are not asexual, so, again, you're dumb. Some of my arguments to why I am pro-choice. It's not a fully developed life. It has the potential to be a life, but it's not. It doesn't have a nervous system at the age where I would, or the age of the fetus that I would say it's okay to have an abortion, that I'm comfortable with. So if you got one, it wouldn't feel any pain or anything. And if you do believe in a soul, which I don't, but I believe in, like, the figurative, like, your being, your personality and everything, that's up here. And the brain isn't developed enough to have any of that, to even start thinking. There's, like, no brain function until, like, 13 weeks or something like that. It doesn't have a soul because its brain isn't developed. It's nothing. It's just a forming organism. All we are is bags of flesh. We're just a bunches of cells That little thing is a bunch of cells, we are a bunch of cells. The only difference is we have brain activity and we're sentient and conscious. More reasons why people get abortions. Some women, they had sex, they even tried to prevent it at all costs. Like, they had birth control, everything. I have Depo. I still use condoms too, sometimes, depends, but I'm actively trying to prevent anything growing in me for at least another 5 years or so, or until I'm financially stable. I want to enjoy my young life. So people, they find out, even like late trimester, this is where it gets kind of touchy, that the kid would have a deformity or something that would affect its life so severely that why even make it live? It's cruel. Like, you have a dog, it's sick, it's dying, you put it down for its own, to put it out of its misery. That's cruel to make it live for your own selfish, oh, well, I want it to live because all life is sacred. No, if you would put your dog down, if it was sick and you couldn't afford it, and it would be in pain the rest of its life, wouldn't you put it down? I mean, that's kind of sick to me. Like, people keep, I saw a thing on YouTube where they kept this baby alive that didn't even have a brain. They spent thousands of dollars in medical just to keep it alive. It didn't feel anything, I don't even think. Some people aren't financially set. Well, you know, they don't have any money. They don't want to put it into adoption to where fuck knows where it goes. They don't want to have it. They can't have it because of the financial situation. They can maybe scrounge up a couple hundred to get an abortion, though, so that's, 500 is probably better than trying to raise it on your own and making the kid live a miserable life of poverty. I don't think people need to get abortions, though. Like, that's the whole thing with pro-choice. You have a choice. You find out you're pregnant, you can get an abortion, you can put it up for adoption, or you can keep it. That's your choice. It's none of my fucking business. This is America, free country, etc., etc. So I think maybe we should try to prevent it. Like, have better sex education classes, give out more free condoms, lower the cost on birth control. You can't just have it free. Come on, ladies. You can't do that. That's bad. Make birth control available for men that's other than just condoms. Like, if you don't like it, at least try to come to a middle ground. Like, try to prevent it or something. I don't see anyone trying to prevent it. They're just like, oh, you're a murderer because you had an abortion. I don't know anything about your story, but you're a murderer. I believe you can be pro-choice and pro-life at the same time. This is mostly to do with voting. Like, you can be, say, I don't agree with abortion, I think it's wrong, I wouldn't get one, but these people might not. And even though I don't think it's right, it's not my life, and this is a free country, I shouldn't be voting on their rights, so they can do what they want. But because America likes to vote on other people's rights, vote for choice. Just, you know, if they want to do that, that's their business. How pro-lifers go get about convincing people, I kind of see a lot in veganism and religion. They shame them, they attack them, they belittle them, they act morally superior on their high horse. It's kind of sad. They call them murderers with the emotional, manipulative language. Like, if you want to convince someone to do something, if you want them to be on your side, you don't yell at them, you don't demean them. That's going to make them build up a wall and be defensive. You want to understand them and give them a chance and show them your point of view and why you think that way. If they don't agree, they don't agree. You can't force someone to agree. That's not choice. That's freaking, what is it, communism? I don't know the word. That's kind of fucked up. That's wrong to me. Louis C.K. made a thing about abortion, like, oh, if you're in the womb, yeah, you have to live. But once you're born, no one gives a fuck. Like, if you're pro-life, at least don't be a hypocrite. Support, like, hunger programs and give to the poor, and that fetus, if it gets born and turns into a person, and lives its whole life out, it deserves the same respect that you would give it as two little half cells, you know, starting to multiply, as when it's an old man who can't even hold a shit in his butt, you know? Support elderly houses, hospices. Don't be a hypocrite. And yeah, if you care about that kid, and you force someone into a pregnancy, and they're not ready, that kid's gonna turn fucked up. And it could be your fault if you're the one who convinced them to have that kid keep it. This is excluding adoption, if they didn't do that. Or even if they did, like I said, it could get fucked up in adoption agencies and stuff. But if that person says they're not ready, I think they know themselves enough. It's not just like, well, I'm going to use this as a form of birth control like a retard, you know. If they say they're not ready, and they do it, and they screw the kid up, whose fault is that? A question I saw going around that I want to get answers to as well from me is, if abortion was made illegal and someone illegally had an abortion, what should their penalty be? For all you pro-lifers out there. I hope you enjoyed this. And, I don't know, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos for pro-life versus pro-choice, and I've seen mostly pro-lifers, and they had pretty good ratings, and all the pro-choice arguments or pro-lifers that disagreed with their group on any level got downvoted like shit. I hope you take my opinions kind of respectively, open your mind a little bit to what I'm saying. I obviously researched this. I have like a page here that I've been working on a couple days, so I have both sides of the argument to combat with my arguments. I mean, a lot of pro-life arguments are all the same. They're just like, oh, the babies, and make them live. It's all the same thing over and over again. It's never anything new to me. Like religious arguments. And maybe I just looked into it too much, but it all seems the same to me. I never see anything new or convincing. I look for arguments against mine, but I never see anything that changes my mind in the slightest. Well, maybe a little bit, but not really. Because there's always an argument that pops up in my mind that combats theirs, and I'm just like, why didn't they think of that? So, subscribe. I'm going to hopefully try to get more rants out, because when I do it right, it's kind of fun and fulfilling until I start getting all the downvotes. But, yeah, have a good day.